And so there are a couple of like little licks and riffs and chord progressions that I find myself using a lot. Sometimes they fit nice, and it, you know, kind of, it's like it doesn't really matter if we did something similar on a different song. If it fits, it fits. If it serves the song, then it's good there. I will catch myself every once in a while just kind of stopping and going, okay, well, I know for a fact I just did that in a previous song. So nix it, find something else. So if there's anything thematic, it is probably a result of that, and may be to some degree unintentional. But we still want each song to have its own life. We don't want everything to sound exactly the same. We want it to sound cohesive, like it was all written together and it deserves to be on an album together. So we wanted the songs to be dynamic and have their own identity, but still sound like they all belong together and like it's us. It's got to sound cool. It's got to be something that is enjoyable to hear, enjoyable to play, and can relatively easily, you know, achieve both. It's you know, we do try to come up with ideas that, you know, maybe are like somewhat challenging for ourselves, and then as you play it and get along with it, you know, you improve as a player to meet the demands of what that thing that you're trying to write. But that's usually for me where it starts, and then, you know, once everybody kind of comes together on a singular idea, then that expands either forward, but definitely backward, until it evolves and becomes a song.
The themes of the record isn't something that we or I really start a whole lot with in the beginning of the process. I think, like we said about the songwriting, one of the cool things about this band and writing the music is that, at least in my experience with it, is this sort of discovery of what things mean after the fact, rather than imposing some definition or like meaning on something before you actually make it. To me, that makes something just feel a little more special, and it was the same with this record. And I hadn't really anticipated that it was going to be surrounding sort of the title track, Sight to Sound, and what that meant. Break things like this down into a segment in an interview that we put out, you know, I have a lot of feelings about the ideas and the themes behind it, and I hope that a lot of that comes through in the writing and through the music when you hear it. And my goal is that people have a personal connection with it and it speaks to them individually. But I think as you read through the lyrics, you can see sort of a delineation of thought and how it plays out throughout the record. I think that the title of the record speaks for itself, as far as in its most base form being a visual aspect to the sounds that you hear. And one of the things that's really struck me lately is the idea of, in the modern world, we often and always have images associated with everything that we hear, especially from bands and with music. And I know for me, one of my favorite things to do with music is to drive and listen to it and close my eyes and listen to it, not while I'm driving. Sometimes I do, but really, I feel like if music's done its job, it doesn't need to be associated with a video or a picture, although it's nice and it can very much add to the art form. I really appreciate the individual aspect that you feel when you listen to a record without any visuals. So for me, that's what I wanted to do with a lot of the lyrics with the album. I wanted it to be very evocative and visual in that regard. So yeah, like I said, the themes don't really start out in the process, but as we got towards the end of this record, it became apparent sort of the main themes that were surrounding it, and that was really cool and exciting.
Yeah, I don't really think conceptually about when I write. Honestly, I want everything to be different. That's really all. Like, every song, I think of it as like a different thing entirely. Those are my favorite bands when we grew up. Like, I guess there was like conceptual albums, like, you know, stuff that we liked. Like Floyd was definitely very conceptual when I was growing up and listening to that stuff. But I don't know. I don't really listen to a whole lot of conceptual stuff. So, you know, I don't know. I just think of every song as like a different entity in itself. But then when you put lyrics and you sit down and you have this like streamline of thought when you're writing songs, then it becomes more cohesive and just naturally over time. Just
Yeah,
kind of adapts to the music.
Yeah, I think we both appreciate songs that can stand on their own, and so even though there is a sort of a thematic idea that runs through this record, we really, like Jesse said, we look at every song on its own. And the way we write albums is we sit down for a period of time, we write a collection of music, and we put them together. It's not necessarily that we're looking for them to fit exactly, although if something after the process we look and see that it's revealed itself, that's cool too. But I think the songs have to stand on their own individually and as a collection in order to be a great album, and that's what we try to achieve when we sit down and write every time, is to write something great. We like an ambiguous tone with our music, and that's something that we try to explore visually as well. It's just kind of the place that we like to sit in normally. So we are really drawn to a dark aesthetic, and we like that, but in the same breath, we like to balance that with light as well. So that can be a lot of the process too. I remember it was like a texture thing too. At first, we were trying to figure out what was going on with the cover, and we had the idea of a moth, but it was like more of a metallic looking thing, and it was just cool to see.
Well, yeah, that was just like the development.
Yeah, it was cool to see how it was whittled down though, and by the time we got towards the end of the process, we were really getting excited about how it just seemed to really convey what we were thinking about as far as the tone of the record. And we hope everybody likes it. We think it's a killer album cover. Go buy the record.